Hello, welcome to this video. Thank you so much for tuning in, sharing in this now moment with myself and with one another. If you haven't seen these videos before, welcome, and welcome back if you have. My intention is unity and oneness and the highest levels of love light. I just want to drop into a little flow and a little wordplay. I don't know if you guys have noticed the energies shifting at all. I will say, well, let me just go into flow, and maybe at the end I'll give a little energetic update, or I'll do part 2 of a video. And so in this moment, we are inviting you to sit and feel the frequencies, feeling into the frequencies. And we are about to introduce a set of word mechanics, we could say, plays with words that assist us, the listener, the speech, the speaker, that which is being spoken, to be felt and interpreted in a myriad of ways. For when we say we are the we that is connected into all of the fabric that we and each and every single one of us, or you in it, unit of energy, frequency, and wave forms are connected into. For many of us are in a state of separation. We may feel as if we are more separated than we have ever been, yet this is far, far, far from the truth. The truth, oh, there's so many different ways of looking at this. Lots of energy coming through. The truth of the matter is that we each fit in an universal and unity consciousness puzzle or geometric code or frequency code, if you will, wavelength, that is each and every one significant in the signal that keeps the fabric of reality woven together. Many of us feel that this is coming from an outside source, and this is where the separation has come in to take away from the feeling of unification. And this is part of the journey that each and every one of us individually are on, yet each and every one of us is part and complete with the completeness of the one, the wholeness, the aspect of the entirety of the canvas. We play with these words for a moment, and we will actually dip into a much more multidimensional facet, if you will, of information that we are about to share. So we invite you to open up your own ability to conduct, to feel into the conduction, to feel into the chemistry that is being conducted as we share these words in a myriad of ways, and feel how this reflects back to you. Feel as if there are any pings that are accessed from feeling into this letter geometry, one might say, for all words are a schematic. They are a part of the story. They weave together just as the human weaves together in the schematic of reality. Each and every one of you has a mode of conductivity, a mode of adaptability, adaptation, and the ability to send and receive signals in a very, I'm just seeing all kinds of different ways, but in the most basic of ways, it is waves. It is in part because of the ability to move in and out with affluently, plan words, the ability to feel through all senses and then interpret those feelings. This is part of the wave form, or the form of understanding reality, conducting with reality, conducting through reality, and interweaving with reality. So I'm being called to stop for a moment. I'm trying to drop in because I have a bigger flow that wants to come through with a massive play on words, but the guides are kind of trying to set a basic foundation, letting us know that we are the foundation. We are the canvas on which the picture or the artistry comes alive. So we are matter, we are alive, we are wave forms. We send and receive signals through our brain, our hearts, our electromagnetic system, yet many of us feel as if we are not important. We are not, and then as I say important, I'm hearing port. We are the ports that actually are the connective resources to source. So we are the cells, the mycelium, right? The cellular network that is compatible with Earth. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. However, many of us are recognizing many incompatibilities. And I'm hearing through combativeness, right? And we are realizing that there's something more to this, something more than maybe what we've been told or what we've always known as reality or what we have told ourselves. We could go into so many different layers. So let us drop into geometry for a moment. Yes, let's, because geometry is something I'm so good at. My geometry teacher would have gotten a kick out of this. Let us kick it up a notch, for as we tune into the geometric code and the programming, if you will, we invite you to change your own programming for just a second, for us to allow the time frame analytical landscape to dip in and change the frequency. We're snapping our fingers because it is that easy. With the snap of the fingers, we can each tune into and become the modular unit of unification. We can each tune into the different modes of information that is pouring in from the universal conjunctions right now, the universal conjunctification, the abilities to sit with this energy and to remember from within that we are the energetic components that are here now, that are capable of changing the world. So let us play with this in more tones and tonalities here in order to access more of the tones and frequencies that many of us have been toning out of for quite some time, or we have been tone deaf to. One might say we have not been listening or tuning into the difference or the variables in tones and definitions of what those variables and tones are. For many of us are waking up to more sound. We are turning up our own dials, if you will, and dialing into multiple varieties, variations, and variabilities, giving us more accessibility to the keys, to the many different combination locks, if you will, that are part of the human brain, that are part of the universal quantification of reality. And this is a multidimensional, multifaceted way of communication, even with this language. For each of us are a walking bank of information. Each of us holds within us a certain type of vocabulary exchange, and we are not referring necessarily to the English language, although the English language and tone certainly fits in with this as a particular subset of a particular wave form or font of communication. We invite you to step out of that linearization, though, and to turn your brain on in a different way. We invite you to tune into the way in which we play with the words, the word play. For in this particular word, for example, the word play, and by the way, I'm being shown that this is a redo of another video that we did, but we're enhancing it a little bit. The word play can be accessed, seen, played with in a myriad of ways. We can play a song, we can play that game, we can play in a certain way. We can play with a ball, we can play a piano, we can go watch a play unfold, we can be the actors in a play, we can see how it is going to play out, and we could play with Play-Doh. And we have so many different ways that we can play with this wordology and the way in which this word sits within a sentence, within a linearization of letters, letter analyzation, the way that we can analyze and remap or tune into this word in a myriad of ways. We could change the definitive quality or the quantitative space that the word holds, the ability to hold space in the word play. Play on words. To hold space in the word play. So fun. And even when we share this, we are holding space in which we The energetic weavers in this reality are holding space. We are playing with the space quantification, if you will, the ability to, that's a play in words. Quantification, I'm going to play with this. Pontification, quantification, quantifying, adding numbers to the way in which we hold our point of view, our perspective, our enhanced ability to see through reality, to open up to more versions of reality through using language in a different pattern. And as we do this, we begin to recognize, reorganize the patterns within our own technological way of mapping into language. We run diagnostics, if you will, and we break free from the chain. Someday somebody's gonna turn around and make you want to say goodbye. What is that? Wilson Phillips. Is the chain? Break free from the chain? Something like that? Oh, goodness gracious. We even throw in a little light language, if you will, for the spell in which this is spoken, the organization of the words, of the spoken words, the ability to organize and speak these words, even though they are not written or handwritten in an English dictionary, are part of the message. For the message goes beyond the English dictionary. The message goes beyond the English transformation of energies into a confluent signature or explanation of what the meaning is of these words and verses. It shifts our ability to merge and I'm hearing coexist. Okay, do you guys ever, the bumper sticker coexist? I'm sure you guys have all seen this, where it has all the different symbols spelled out coexist. And I love that. But it's kind of that same idea, like this goes beyond, so communication goes beyond our ability to speak a certain word or speak the same language as somebody else. It's more of a universal language. And so light language is an example of lost forms, or I'm hearing lost in translation, forms of communication that are held within the memory of our DNA. They're held within the memory of times past or times in the future that we have also used these spoken texts, these spoken languages. And many of the languages that you have read, let us say, for instance, in hieroglyphics, have a similar effect. And these similar effects were spoken in a different format than what has been introduced potentially in this particular time frame or construct of reality. Therefore, they were constructively used in previous existences and hold with them a certain property, if you will, an ability to alchemize certain properties of energetic components that allow us to remember different properties of our own components that we may have forgotten. And so while this is a certain type of skill set from one perspective, many of us have already perfected these skill sets, yet have forgotten that we have. So in this now time frame, many of us are awakening dormant skill sets that are already inside the human skin suit or the technology-based form of the human on earth now in matter. So we will start to feel into more of what really matters. We will also feel into potentially that which has been scattered to the wind or lost in certain past incarnations, beginning to come alive again, beginning to resurge, if you will, beginning to be unloosened and revealed so that we can interact with reality, with all tools available to us in the multidimensionality and the many facets that many of us are now being faced with. And we'll play with this for a moment. So I'm being called to kind of, I'm being called to keep going. So I will. We play with language in this way, for it creates a play with the format. It opens up the format, and I'm hearing the forum, the foramen. It opens up the format and the foramen in such a way that we are able to play with a brand new architecture or landscape that is, let's say, hidden in the back of the brain. It is hidden within the landscape of recycled energy and memories that are coagulated or bound by certain formations. So many of us, I'm seeing like a geode, okay? Like, you know, when you crack open a geode, you think it's one form and it looks a certain way and it's very plain on the outside. But then when you crack it open and look at it, it's this beautiful bowl of crystals inside of it. And that is a completely different elemental conductibility. It's a completely different display of form. It's a completely different chemical composition that is created from within the form itself. And so this is a play on words, you guys. I'm seeing this as reference to the human body as well. So I'll just really quickly drop in and share. One of the messages that I keep getting over and over again, the math is wrong, whatever that means. The human body has much more accessibility to multidimensionality than we're even comprehending right now, which many of you recognize that already. And when we open up certain parts of the brain, however that looks, through meditation, through heart math, which does help us to connect with the heart brain. So heart coherence, breathing, being in a creative place of joy, whether it's coloring with your kids or playing outside in the grass and stimulating the nervous system and getting out of our heads. I'm hearing mind categories. It helps us to access different parts of the body that were, I'm hearing previously coagulated. So it starts to stir everything up and it creates more circulation and a deeper harmonic, which means we're accessing a deeper sound. And in this resonance, the resin that held together the components is being shaken up. It's being stirred up and it allows it to soften so that the energetic pieces that were encapsulated within this resin are now able to be birthed. Or I'm kind of seeing like that picture, like if you see this crystal behind me and there was a mosquito stuck in it, you know, like amber. Amber becomes a resin and it solidifies, and then you have a perfectly preserved mosquito inside the resin. I'm being shown that this is kind of what I'm seeing in the brain, that it has to do with mitochondria. That's the word that's coming through. And it has to do with cellular reactivation. So it's almost dormant things that have been there the whole time. And it's at a microscopic and quantum level. So as we progress, we will begin to learn more about the composition of the structure of the human anatomy than we've ever learned before, because our past was encapsulated within a certain time dynamic that kept us isolated from certain aspects of ourselves. And because we were held within a particular time capsule, until that particular time capsule burst, we were unable to access these other parts of the schematic that were held, let's say, within a treasure map. This treasure map has now been burst. The door has been opened, and that which was encapsulated within, waiting to be birthed, born, seen, played with, is now coming to fruition. So I'm seeing this as a play on words, like when you bear fruit, when something has been in the chrysalis, you know, the butterfly going through its metamorphosis, and then all of a sudden a time capsule bursts and out comes the butterfly. And I'm hearing the foramen again, being called to play with that, maybe at the end of the video. I'll probably go back and I always say that. I'm gonna go back and talk about what this video means. Not enough time in the day yet. So as we share this information with you, some of it seems very woo-woo. It seems potentially scientific without the proof, one might say, but we will share with you the proof is on its way. And I'm hearing the proof is in the pudding. It has already, I'm hearing the egg has already been laid, like the goose that laid the golden egg. It's already here. It's just taking its time to be brought forward so that we can then interpret it with, okay, I'm being shown there's going to be some people that interpret this information as in the past, when there was something that was revealed, oftentimes, from what my guides have shared, it was put on a shelf back in the corner until because they couldn't figure out why or what or where it fit in, is what I'm hearing. I'm also seeing this in reference to chromosomes. And I'm hearing chromosomatic differentiation of the cellular. Usually I write this stuff down and I don't even share it, but I'm just going to keep going. Recomposition within the time matrix has been reorganized, whatever that means. But this is a play of words too, guys. So this is a multi-dimensional way of looking at this. Now, if I were to go back and look what I had written down, I could take that into 5 different layers or schematics of reality to show that it could mean multiple things on a very different level. So while we are sharing with you certain bits of information to consider, we would also invite you to consider consideration. So we're going back to a very emotional and human perspective. Be considerate of those who are not considering others, because they are held captive by their own analytical captivation, and they are their own captors, yet they do not realize that they are holding themselves captive or caught in a trap, if you will, because they are unable to move out of what they think they know. It is easier to stay in a box and feel compatible with the box that has been created versus blowing the box wide open and seeing no limitations, boundaries, or barriers. This is unacceptable for some. And for others, it is the exception that needs to be made in order to tune into the exceptional human. For we have blown the human ideologies out of the water. Play on words. Something having to do with water, something having to do with the old paradigm, something. So guys, there's a lot going on, I think, behind the scenes in a science world that I am not behind the scenes on, but my consciousness can tune into many different pieces of the collective experience. This includes math, science, the collective experience. We all can do this. We share this information in this way, for this is the way in which we share this information. And this is useful for some to just feel into the words. For others, it is useful because we are sharing a truth about matter. We are sharing from this word comb, honeycomb, more about the sweetness of what is being birthed from the human experience. We would invite you to be sweet with one another, for we are all going through this new, I'm seeing this big reference to resin, like the honeycomb, it's gold, it's like honey, and like we're sticky and we're moving, we're like not quite sure where we are. We play with this because there is a sound that we are all in the process of rebirthing. For all is created from sound, from one perspective. It is a heartbeat, if you will. It is the word, if you will. It is the energy behind the sound that we are feeling rising up in our bones. For it is at a crystalline basis, and the signature is a conductive orchestration of energetic collaboration that is expanding as we speak. And as we speak, and we do this from a place of heartfelt consistency, we change the consistency of the resin, of the resonance in which we are co-creating. We change the ingredients of the soup in which we are all adding to. It becomes, I'm hearing just like the glue that holds us all together. Each of us is part of this co-creative frequency. So if we can be considerate, it would change the way that we all interact. Which we know this, right? This is not new news. Instead, this is information to provide a frequency to recognize that new information is being birthed, yet it has yet to be unearthed. While some has already been unearthed, and we have yet to hear about it, for much has been hidden in these pockets of dimensions, we would venture to say that the next rollout will come with many different exciting philosophies, breaking free of the old philosophical debates, moving into new organizations that were previously undetected. These new organizations are based on the human's ability to intuitively reorganize and recognize what is true and what is mistruth, or feeling into the soup and feeling where the texture does not line up with the reality that we are choosing to co-create together. We recognize when it is time to filter out this signal, this piece or ingredient that is not dissolving and instead is creating disturbance in the field. When we hone in on this, we can easily remove it, for it is not permanent. So I'm being called to play with that a little bit because that's a very multidimensional. But one of the things I'm being shown is that there's some really obvious, I'm hearing obtrusions, intrusions, obtuse obtrusions that are showing up in our reality. And we're like, this needs to get out before we can move forward. And I'm just hearing we can move mountains. So not losing perspective, recognizing that we're all going through this in our own way. And some people are really struggling with the changes that are about to unfold. How many of you are struggling with the changes that have already unfolded? The guides just keep saying we are all going through this in our own way. So do our best to support each other. Pray. I keep hearing pray, and I want to talk about that briefly. So maybe we should go into a little bit of, I might do a second, I might break this into 2 chunks. Whew. When the guides talk about prayer, it's not necessarily praying to a particular entity. If that's what feels good to you, that's your prerogative. But what I'm hearing is it's about the vibration that comes from our bodies that we send out in a wave form that ripples out into the soup that we're in. I always like to compare the reality we're in to like ocean water, like this womb-like water that we can't see, ether, air, whatever it is, this mix of ingredients that holds photonic light that holds energetic components that we are woven into, whether it be through a holographic presentation or whether it be an actual womb-like energy that we're all living through, is not relevant for the messages that I'm sharing. What is relevant is whatever it is, we are part of that creationary source. We are part of, I'm being shown an example of like some birds will eat their eggs. Like they hatch out of the egg and then they eat it. It's like the placenta, right? It's got nutrients and ingredients in it. And we are constantly in this structure that can be utilized as in nutrition. So the more we send out prayer, it actually creates an aesthetic, is what I'm hearing. An aesthetic, but not in a bad way. It's like almost like it creates a wave-like energy that helps to neutralize and create an alkalinity in the acidity of the field of humanity, or the collective that humanity is expressing, that is not in full orchestration of the highest heart coherence. So the more of us that are in coherence, the greater space of energy we hold and the greater wave form of, it's like we are then, I'm hearing we're the mutants. You guys remember Marvel Comics, the mutants? We're enhancing the field. And so we're helping to alkalize reality. I'm just seeing us being inside the body of, right? It's infinite, the fractal. So when we do that, we are then neutralizing and counterbalancing some of the craziness that we're witnessing. And this is part of why we're here now at this time, from my perspective. So this was a whole soup of wordplay and all kinds of information that I'll have to come back in and maybe reorganize a little bit. But in the meantime, thank you so much for tuning in. You guys, thank you for your support of this channel. I know that I've been, whatever you call it, on social media, kept down because of some of the things I've talked about, and I can't quite figure out how to move past the algorithms. Every once in a while I get through and it's like, poof, so many people are getting these messages. But for the most part, anyone who's tuned in and shared in these messages for as long as you have, I really appreciate you. And I appreciate everyone who has also shared these with other people. And I appreciate the support. You guys are the reason I came on and started sharing this is because I felt like it needed to be expressed, but also I felt like there were a lot of other people out there doing what I do. And maybe it can give voice to some of you to help inspire you to go out and do your work, whatever that is, whatever that looks like. And also recognizing that if you're speaking light language, if you're feeling like you're tuning into things that you've never tuned into before, if you feel the changes that are going on in your body, whatever it is, you're not alone. There are billions of us, and there's billions of us, but there are so many of us who are going through a massive transformation, whether that transformation is now or whether that transformation was 10 years ago, we're still going through it. So the more of us that can support each other in this journey, and it doesn't mean enable or support as in taking away from our own self-sufficiency, but again, it's coherence. It's sending out consistency so that we can create this supportive space so that when massive things happen, we're not completely derailed. We can continue to reach out and assist one another in the ways that we can, that we have time for, that we feel balanced in. These are all, we're all needed. I'm seeing kneading the dough, right? We're all needed in our own way, and we all add value, the dough, to this reality. So that's a whole other video I want to go into later about getting out of fear and getting out of this idea that we're not needed. That's just old stuff that we're really being called to clear out and integrate. And again, that's another video. So in love and light, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Namaste.